Thanks for tuning in to Unbreakable with Chris Chamasairos. So I have a lot to talk about today. President Trump in the United States of America. Once again, we are going to war. And why are we going to war with Iran? Why are we going to war once again? Why are we putting American troops' lives on the line? Why are we risking our country's safety once again? We're risking it for Israel. Benjamin Netanyahu, once again, Donald Trump's pimp, is telling Donald Trump, you better bomb Iran for Israel, making all kinds of threats. And what does the weak, corrupt, old, vile Trump do? The weak Trump, what does he do? He just falls in line. He gets in line. You know, this just confirms that President Trump, I'm even embarrassed to call him president at this point. He is just dying to lose the midterm elections. I mean, this pretty much just ends the midterms. Any chance of Trump winning the midterms just completely went out the window. Never mind the Epstein files. Never mind any, Trump is patting himself on the back for the economy and the Dow and the stock market. Meanwhile, his big billionaire buddies, they got richer. Wall Street got richer, excuse me. The tech companies out in California, they got richer. But the working man, did your life change? Did your bills get any cheaper? Did your car insurance get cheaper? Did your taxes get cheaper? Did you get a raise at your job? Of course you didn't. Because Trump and all of his cronies, they don't give one single shit about you. And you can see this in every decision that President Trump makes. Do you really think it benefits America in any way, shape, or form to bomb Iran? Do you think Iran really wants to have a problem with America? Do you really believe that Iran is behind trying to assassinate President Trump? Iran is not behind trying to assassinate President Trump. Those are the Zionists. They were mad that Trump was going to release the Epstein files. That was before he was elected. That's who groomed those assassins. Iran doesn't want any problems with the United States of America whatsoever. Benjamin Netanyahu and the Zionists donors who gave Trump $250 million. This is what they want. This is what Benjamin Netanyahu wants so he can conquer the Middle East. And what does Trump do? What does he do? This pathetic, weak leader that we have right now, what does he do? He just caves. The entire world right now, the entire world is against the United States of America. The entire world is against Israel and Benjamin Netanyahu. The entire world. All of our allies. But yet Trump sides with Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel. America's greatest ally, who is dragging America into endless wars just for their own personal benefit. So American troops can lose their lives in a war that they weren't meant to fight. If you do not join the military, if you are an American citizen and you can get out of the military, get out of the military. Do not join the military because you are fighting wars for Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel that have nothing to do with you. You are not fighting for the greater cause of America. Especially all you special forces guys bragging about this and bragging about that. I was the top G.I. Joe, blah, 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 blah. And when you give yourself a timeout and you really think about what you were and what you were doing, all you were was a hired gun for Israel. That's all you have been doing. Don't fool yourself. You have not been protecting America. You have not been protecting American interests. You're protecting Israel's border and other countries' borders. Meanwhile, we have an invasion at our own border. Do not join the United States military until you get a president that puts America first, and you will know when you get that president. Now, I know you can't just quit the military, But if you're up to re-enlist or you're about to join, don't do it. Get your ass out of there. I'd rather see you working at the local gas station than fighting wars and risking your life for Benjamin Netanyahu and Israel and Trump and all his rich buddies that don't give one single shit about you or your family or your problems or America. Trump is Israel first, bottom line. And you can see that with all the decisions that he makes. Every single decision, it's not what's good for America. It's what's the best interest of Israel. And that's all it boils down to. That's Trump's whole presidency. Think about the Epstein files. Think about what is going on there, or what has been going on there. Think about who Jeffrey Epstein is. He works for the Israeli government. They were sex trafficking children. They were eating them. They were sexually assaulting them. They were doing every putrid thing that you could do. And President Trump is still trying to cover this entire thing up. And why is he doing it? You have to always ask yourself, why would he do that? Right away, people are going to say, well, he's probably in the files. He probably did something. No. He's covering it up for his donors because that's what his donors want, because they're all Zionists. That's why. Trump's presidency is officially over. I mean, it was pretty much over. It was teetering on the edge with the Epstein files. And now going to war with Iran, which is inevitable. His presidency is completely finished. It's just done. It's over. It's finished. We all know it. Let me clean my glasses real fast. It's just an absolute disgrace. Trump is an absolute disgrace. And, you know, Benjamin Netanyahu, he says, oh, Iran cannot have these ballistic missiles. And the other missiles are cruise missiles. Israel doesn't want Iran to have these missiles. And you know why they don't want Iran to have those missiles? Because it's the only way they can defend themselves from an attack from Israel and the United States of America. So let me tell you this. If I'm Israel, if I'm Iran and President Trump comes to me and he tells me, oh, you gotta give me those weapons. You gotta give me those missiles. Or even if that weasel, if that turd, if that spineless, slimy Benjamin Netanyahu threatened me and said, you're going to give us those weapons. You know what I would tell America to do? And you know what I would tell Israel to do if I was the leader of Iran? You know what I would tell them? I would tell them, F off, and I'll see you on the battlefield, and we'll see how it goes. Why would Iran hand over those missiles, those weapons, to the United States of America or Israel when it's their only line of defense to fight their war for them? See, that's what a real leader does. A real leader says, I'm not doing that. I got to defend my people. I got to defend my country. I got to defend my territory. You can't trust America at all because, you can't trust America at all because America is not being run by the United States of America. It's not being ran by President Trump. It's being ran by Benjamin Netanyahu. So why would Iran give away their weapons, their only weapons to fight back? I wouldn't either. I would tell Trump, F you, get out of my face, get lost, see you on the battlefield. Let's do what we got to do. Oh, yeah, you know what? Because after all, if Iran just handed them all these weapons, that would mean that Israel wouldn't attack them, right? Or have the United States of America attack them. So basically what Benjamin Netanyahu wants them to do is he wants them to surrender so then they can get slaughtered like the Palestinians in Gaza. This sick, murdering, psychopathic. Every time Benjamin Netanyahu talks, he is lying. It's just, this is who controls Trump, a total piece of garbage. This is who the United States of America is on, the brink of World War III for, and it's inevitable. And none of Trump's voters, if you're defending this at this point, you really have to see a psychiatrist. You really do. No new wars. Vote for Trump. America first. build, drill, baby, drill. Let's manufacture everything on American soil. No new wars. So far, Trump's only been in office in a year. He's bombed like 6 or 7 different places, from one place to the other. And it's all to make Israel stronger, to give them what they want, because God forbid they don't get what they want. Then it's the end of the world. It's just completely the end of the world. So there is, when Trump really wants everybody to turn the page from the Epstein files. He wants everybody to forget the Epstein files. He doesn't want anybody paying attention. He also doesn't want anybody paying. Trump doesn't want anybody paying attention how Israel's controlling him to go to war with Iran. So what I noticed today was Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, Patrick Bet-David, they all had the same talking points. And you know what their talking points were? America is a safer place and crime is down. And what they're doing is they're trying to push this narrative out there because they're trying to put something positive into the public eye, because they want you to just turn the page and focus on something that they consider to be positive. And this is done on purpose to distract you. This is the United States of America. This isn't a third world dump hole. You know how much we pay more taxes? You get taxed on everything. You are taxed to death in this country. There's nothing that you don't pay taxes on. Nothing. So Bongino and Kash Patel and Trump and Patrick Bet-David and the rest of these idiots that are trying to lie and to deceive us, you don't get a pat on the effing back because crime is down. This is not a third world country. This is not Somalia. Crime is supposed to be down. We are supposed to have the best infrastructure in the world, because look at the amount of taxes that we pay. So you want a pat on the back because crime is down? Because murder is down? Because fentanyl is down? That's the way it should effing be. And when Democrats are allowing crime to happen and fentanyl to be brought into the country, to be walked across the border, you should be arresting them too, Kash Patel, Dan Bongino, President Trump. You should be arresting those Democratic politicians too. But you choose not to, and that's why it just continues to happen. So, what will happen is it's just like a little bit of a dent in this criminal activity. And then once Democrats take over, and they take over the DOJ and the FBI, and they get, they take over the presidency and vice presidency, what happens? Oh, it's business as usual for the criminals. So nothing, these so-called crime fighters, and Patrick Bet-David is involved in this also, because, he has a lot of viewers. I think it's like CNN, NBC, and then it's like Patrick Bet-David and the amount of views he gets. So I find it very ironic that Dan Bongino, Kash Patel, and Patrick Bet-David, all in the same day today, we're all pushing the same talking points, that America is a safer place because of President Trump. Oh, really? It is? We're about to go to war with Iran. Do you think that's making America safe? And who are we going to war with? Who are we going to war with Iran for? We're not doing it for America. They're not threatening us. They didn't try to take President Trump's life. We're doing that for Israel. So not only are we risking our soldiers' lives overseas, President Trump is risking everybody in America's life. Because what if Iran says, you know what? We're not just going to surrender. I'm not going to let my people get slaughtered. You know what? I'm pushing a nuclear button. F it. F it. You know what? We're not surrendering. We're not giving you shit. Matter of fact, meaning if I was the Iranian president, I would tell Netanyahu, you know what? I hate you so much that I'd rather push the nuke button than surrender to you. That's what I would tell that piece of garbage. Literally, if I was running Iran. I do not blame Iran at all for not handing over their weapons to Trump and Benjamin Netanyahu, because they know that they're about to be slaughtered. So why would they do that? I respect a leader that is willing to say, you know what? Let's do what we got to do, pal. Let's get in the ring and let's do what we got to do. But I'm not surrendering, and neither are my people. So Let's do it. Let's get it on, as they say. And you got to respect that. Who respects a leader that just hands over their weapons for their people to be slaughtered? But that's what Benjamin Netanyahu wants. See, this is what he does. He's a gangster. He's a psychopath. He's Jason Voorhees and a gangster all rolled into one. He's a complete psycho. He's a murdering psychopath. And he would have Iran hand over all their weapons and he would still slaughter them anyway. Sound familiar? Sound familiar what's going on in Gaza? Same thing, right? There's supposed to be this peace treaty over there. Israel hasn't followed the rules one time. Matter of fact, they're expanding in the West Bank right now. They're going against every agreement that they made with the United Nations. You know why they're doing that? You know why Israel does that? You know why Benjamin Netanyahu does that? You know why? Because Trump is weak and Trump is corrupt. And they know they got Trump by the balls. So they just do whatever the F they want. And then they go around and they act like the bully. And they start effing with everybody because they know the United States military backs their play. See, Netanyahu, he's like the little turd that goes out on the weekend and he's got a big mouth and he starts fights, but he can't fight. And he's a coward and a weasel and a worm because he knows he's with like 3 trained killers behind him. That's what Netanyahu is. That's what Benjamin Netanyahu, that's exactly who he is. He's the bully. He's the murdering psychopath that the entire world hates. And then as soon as he doesn't get what he wants, he plays the victim. It's anti-Semitism. Everything's anti-Semitism. The entire world right now hates Israel. And people will say, Benjamin Netanyahu will say, they just don't like us because we're Jews. They just don't like us because we're Jewish, so they just don't like us. Really, is that what it is? It's not the 1 million people that you just murdered. It's not your murderous, warful ways where you want to conquer the entire Middle East. It's not because every time you talk, you lie. It's not because all the Zionists are buying up all the social media platforms in America and around the world. And all the TV stations, they just did something where they're buying all the TV stations, all the networks, all of social media. So what's going to happen when all these Zionists gain control of all these media outlets, whether it's social media, the TV, the movies, everything, you know what it's going to be? It's just going to be one Zionist propaganda machine. That's all it's going to be. So they're monopolizing everything. The way you get information, they're monopolizing the entire thing. And what do you think it's going to be? Oh, you think it's going to be fair media? You think these Zionists are going to treat you fairly? Tucker Carlson, and I don't feel bad for Tucker Carlson at all, because Tucker Carlson pushed the Zionist slop for 40 years. So Tucker deserves whatever he gets. Tucker pushed their narrative for 40 years on Fox News, the Israel First narrative. He didn't have an honest bone in his body for 40 years, Tucker Carlson. I've never liked Tucker Carlson, his wishy-washy ways. You don't know where he stands. To me, that's not a man. As a man, I need to know exactly what you stand, even if I don't agree with you, even if I don't like you. At least I know exactly. And that's what I can't stand about Benjamin Netanyahu and the Zionists. You see, they try to make it seem like, America's greatest ally. The Christian Judeo relationship was the biggest bunch of bullshit that's being sold in the churches. That's just so you support Israel blindly. See, they camouflage everything. They camouflage all their action, all their ideas, the way they really feel about you. They're sneaky about it. I'd have more respect for Benjamin Netanyahu if he just said, you know what, I'm Jewish, even though he's Polish and he invented this whole name, Benjamin Netanyahu. That's not even his real name. He's from Poland. He has some Polak name. He's parading and masquerading around as an Israeli. I have no clue why. Well, I know why, for his own personal benefit. But I would have more respect for him if he just said, hey, I'm Jewish. I think I'm better than you. You're the goyim, you're trash, you're nothing. I think that I own you and you are going to do what I say, or we're just going to do the things that we do. I would just have more respect for you if you just came out and you said exactly what it was. Because we all, anybody with a mind right now that's even paying attention, you could figure it out pretty, it doesn't take a rocket scientist to figure out what's going on, but they still have to put this masquerade on. America's greatest ally, who drags us into endless wars and gets our troops killed, putting us in debt for, the United States of America shouldn't be borrowing money from anybody, from nobody. In the Constitution or the Bill of Rights, I forget which one, somewhere along the line, one of those bills, that the United States of America has the right to print money. We have the right to print money. Why are we borrowing money from our adversaries to give to Israel? Does that make sense to you? Why are we borrowing money from other countries to give to Israel? So Israel just keeps us in debt, just nonstop debt. But that's America's greatest ally, right? And Trump doesn't give a single shit. He doesn't give a single F because he's getting what he wants. He gets to build hotels in Gaza, swimming pools, casinos. He doesn't give a shit. He doesn't care about any. JD Vance doesn't give a shit. Marco Rubio doesn't give a shit. Neither does Trump. Neither does Gavin Newsom. Neither does Bernie Sanders. Neither does Alexandria Cortez. They all work for Israel. It's all a charade. Republicans and Democrats, they all work for Israel. That's like the other day, Patrick Bet-David and Trump know that everybody's mad at JD Vance. We're not backing off because we know he's a plant. So now they're trying to push Marco Rubio. Marco Rubio was with the Tea Party. He stabbed them all in the back. The Zionists came in. They bought him off. Now he works for Israel. But Patrick Bet-David will sit there and he'll claim that he's America first. I said this yesterday. Marco Rubio and JD Vance are not America first. They are not good for America or Americans. They're total effing frauds. Both of them are effing frauds. And so Kash Patel today and Dan Bongino, they're just totally glazing each other. Like, yeah, we did a great job in the FBI. Crime is down. Again, PBD was pushing this narrative. Then you had, I love this one. I really do. Lara Trump comes out today. And you know how President Obama came out the other day. He was like, "Oh yeah, aliens are real," and he's doing that to distract you. They're all doing because Obama and Trump they're the same party. Joe Biden, Trump, Obama, they're all in the same party. It's called Israel First, America, whatever. They don't give a F. So they're all coming out to, even Hillary Clinton, she's coming out, she was talking about immigration. They all work for the same. They're the same. It's not a split party. They're all saying these things to distract you from the Epstein files, the things that are going on with Israel, the war with Iran. It's all a distraction. That's all it is. So Lara Trump comes out today and she says, "My father has a pre-speech written to announce the discovery of alien life." So now Trump is going to give a speech and he's going to admit to the public that aliens are real. And why is he doing that? Why is he doing that? Do you think he gives a F about aliens? Do you think he gives a single F about aliens? At this point, do American citizens even give a? I don't give a F right now about aliens. First of all, I believe in aliens. I've had some experiences with the ships and everything else. And, over the ocean, I've seen things that will blow your mind. I've made videos about what I saw before we even had these sightings last year. I made videos on this like 5 years ago. But as an American citizen right now that can't pay their bills, that can barely survive, do you give an F about aliens? I don't give a single F about aliens right now. I want to hear that my taxes are going down. I want to hear that gas prices are, we took over Venezuela. We're getting all this oil. Well, how come gas prices haven't dropped $1.50? How come your insurance bill nothing has gone down under Trump? I don't want to hear Trump pat himself on the back that the economy is booming and the only people benefiting from it are his billionaire friends and the elite and the rich. Because that's the only people right now who are benefiting. It's just the typical nonsense over and over and over again. Oh, let me get back to Tucker Carlson. Sorry, I got off track a little bit. So I don't like Tucker Carlson at all. Sorry, I really veered off because I'm just whatever. So Tucker Carlson, he goes to Israel today. Mike Huckabee and him are going at it online. And Mike Huckabee says, "Why don't you come to Israel to debate?" And I'm thinking, like, what is Tucker insane? Is he trying to get assassinated? That's what Israel does. They assassinate people that are very critical of them. Tucker decides to go over there. He gets detained at the airport. Now, Benjamin Netanyahu and the Israeli security team and Mossad and the rest of these idiots, they want you to believe that that was just random, that they do that to everybody. That they want you to believe that they're just doing that to Tucker. They're treating him like a normal person because they don't know who the F he is. But you know what, Tucker? You deserve it. You really do. You pushed the Israel first slop for 40 years. Now, you're almost like what? Almost close. You're 55 years old. You lied to the American. You looked into a camera at Fox News for 40 years and you blatantly lied every single day, pushing the Israel first narrative on the American public. So I don't give a single F about you and Israel getting, you deserve it. You deserve it. But it just goes to show you. It just goes to show you how Israel really operates. You could do their deeds for 40, 50 years, just like Charlie Kirk. Charlie Kirk was doing the same thing, pushing all their narratives. And the minute that he even paused, like, oh, I can't do this. I don't agree with this. He sent Benjamin Netanyahu a letter like, hey, we can't keep doing this. These college kids are coming down hard on me with facts. I'm looking like a complete idiot. We can't keep doing this. The minute that you stop doing the work for them, or you're not their mouthpiece anymore, you get treated like the goyim that you truly are. So I'm just letting you know what happened to Tucker, and Tucker absolutely Tucker, you deserve every second of that. You really do. And maybe you think you're too high profile to be assassinated in Israel. Maybe that's why you went. I mean, we all know what Mike Huckabee is. Mike Huckabee's a Zionist too. Just like Megyn Kelly, she's trying to reinvent herself. Megyn Kelly's like, she's trying to pretend like she's the centrist now. I guess the younger people will call it based or whatever. That's Megyn Kelly. She's like this tough girl now. A year ago she came in out of her own mouth, I'm a Zionist. And the minute she wouldn't throw Candace Owens under the bus like the rest of the Zionists, then like in an instant, Megyn became an anti-Semite. In an instant, boom, she's an anti-Semite now. Oh, she didn't do exactly what we said. This Goyim didn't do exactly what we said. She's an anti-Semite now. That's how they operate. So no big deal. No love lost. I'm going to call it exactly how I see it. You don't like it. I don't give a F. This war with Iran does not benefit America in any type of way. Trump is doing this for one reason, for Israel. That's it. For Israel's benefit, to make his donors happy. This doesn't do anything for America. Does this, hey, PBD, hey, Kash Patel, hey, Bongino, does this make America safe? When people like Iran is so stressed out right now, they might push the nuclear button. Because I know one thing: if I'm the president of Iran and I'm sitting at my desk and I'm like, well, we can't hold off these American forces. They also, the Israeli military is not going to help. You don't see any IDF soldiers on the battlefield. I know Benjamin Netanyahu likes to pretend, oh, Israel defends itself. No, they don't. Israel pays its own way. Israel pays for itself. No, you don't. What are you talking about? Every time he talks, he's lying. Israel doesn't defend itself. It uses the American military. And you're subsidized by American taxpayers. So shut the F up, you clown. That big speech that he gave the other day, just sickening. But Trump, it's over. It's just completely done. It really is. And J.D. Vance and Marco Rubio. And I got to mention the other two Democrat candidates, Gavin Newsom, Bernie Sanders, AOC. They're all in the same party. It's all the same party. They're not two separate groups. They're in the Israel First Party and America Last. That's the party that they're in. I'm in the America First Party. That's what I am. I'm an American nationalist. I don't give a shit about any other country. I don't care what's going on in any other country. I want my border to be secure. I want the 50 million illegals here to be brought back to where they came from. You have to reapply for citizenship and we'll go from there. We cannot be a free for all. Right? And that's another thing. that Bongino won't bring up and Kash Patel won't bring up. It's like you have 55 million illegal people in the country who are criminals just from being here. Crime goes up, and then they want to pat on the back for like bringing it down. Well, the crime is only up because all the illegals are here. So who let those illegals in? Joe Biden. Has Joe Biden been arrested? Has Kamala Harris been arrested? Has Mayorkas been arrested? Have any of them been arrested? No. So you know what that means? Again, once Democrats gain power, they'll just open the borders back up and it'll be back to business as usual. So nothing effing changes because you don't go after these people. So when you have two clowns like Bongino and Kash Patel patting themselves on the back like, you know, they're Superman in the flesh and they're locking up all the criminals, it's just total bullshit. They're just I'm going to put I got to let the video play. I've been going on for a while. Watch these two just glaze each other. It's just amazing. It really is. You know, Bongino the blowhard and Honeypot Patel because he's been honeypotted. This is the lead. The director of the FBI has been honeypotted.
Past year, and spoke to the president about it. He was our first guest. I'm happy to have you on. Let's get right to it. There was another episode up north of trans violence. You know, when you and I were over there at the FBI, they had not specifically produced a good, deep analytical product on what is in this outbreak of trans violence we've seen, whether it's in Minnesota or Nashville. But as you know, over there's a limited number of FBI assets. There's about 38,000 employees. You got to triage your threats. This is,
Kash, I got a question for you. Did it ever crush? They're like, oh, we don't know what's bringing on all this trans violence and blah blah blah. Did it ever crush you two idiots' mind that maybe you should go after the drug companies that give, our young children puberty blockers and all these insane drugs that's making them absolutely insane? But that would mean you'd have to have some balls and a backbone to actually do your job going after the pharmaceutical companies, excuse me. But hey, you guys are tough.
It's a real threat. We've seen it over and over again. And it's important that we produce a product to see what's going on here and analyze the core of this problem.
Well, look, you hit one of the things that we reformed immediately in our first year, Dan, which is intelligence. Intelligence drives operations. And if you refuse to believe the actual intelligence because of the media narrative that used to politicize the FBI, then you're going to get it wrong every time. And what do? We looked at the facts and the evidence. We saw a stream of violence related to transgender ideology that led to unfortunate deaths and assassinations, and we took action.
Yeah, we did. And also on another related topic, Antifa. I covered earlier in my show today and in yesterday's show how the prior FBI director and the prior president, Biden, and even Obama had played down the Antifa threat. It's an idea. You and I know that's bullshit. It's not an idea when actual action follows the idea. There was an action product that resulted from said ideas. Also, we, with the prayer.
And you know what, Dan? You know what? Big blowhard Bongino, and you should have charged them with racketeering then. They do it all the time. The other criminals on the street that are part of a criminal organization, when you aid and abet them, you get charged with the RICO Act and racketeering. But hey, that would mean you'd have to actually have some balls, something that you don't have. You did all this tough guy talk, Bongino.
Land investigation and others. There's been actual action to take down and dismantle this entire ring of people.
See this? This is how pickpockets in the United States steal wallets. 2 seconds.
And you know what amazes me too when I say things like this? I'll get hit in the comment section and people will be like, yeah, tough guy. Yeah, like you would arrest Obama, like you would arrest Kamala Harris, like you would arrest Joe Biden. If I had the position that they had and I had the power and the badge that they had, I would personally knock on their doors, throw the cuffs on them and throw them in the back of the car and take them right to Gitmo. I would personally do it. I wouldn't even let other agents do it. I would do it because it would bring me so much joy to see those pieces of garbage that have destroyed the United States of America, just to see their faces when the handcuffs went on. And then we got to Gitmo, I could really give them the special treatment. And that's not a joke. That's not just talk.
Right. We set out to actually activate intelligence-based operations. This includes Antifa. And Dan, you know this. How many people were arrested related to Prairland? We're over 24 federal arrests. We're in the middle of federal trial in 5 of those defendants this week again in Texas. 19 people have been convicted for acts of violence related to Antifa. It's in the indictment. You don't got to believe me or you. Everybody can go read the public indictment. And it didn't just happen there. It happened in Cop City.
I got to let this play for a while, and I'll explain to you in a minute why.
In Georgia, where we had to go rearrest everybody because the state authorities couldn't get their act together to produce the enough information to take that to trial, so we did. And it's not a creation or manufacturing of information. It exists. It's just a willingness that you and I and this building's new leadership took to say, we're going to look at the facts that exist. We're not going to try to make up facts that don't so we can serve a political narrative. And wait till you, and I know you know this, but wait till you see what's coming in the next month or two on the funding streams related to this. You and I had launched a serious investigation. We had said these organizations don't operate alone, don't operate in silence. They operate with a heavy, heavy stream of funding. And we started looking into it, and guess what, Dan? We found them.
Director, your thoughts on this? I covered earlier in the show that there's a reason a lot of these politicized, weaponized bureaucrats try to avoid talking about Antifa as an organized group of threat actors. What they wanted to do.
Do you see what these two idiots are doing? They're trying to make it sound like such a big deal because they arrested some Antifa members, the scum of the planet. They're like the dumbest people on the planet, Antifa. They're the scum of they're like scuzz in the bottom of my shoe. And they're trying to like pump themselves up like, look at us, we arrested Antifa. But you didn't do anything about the Zionist pedo ring ran by Jeffrey Epstein. That was right in front of your face. That was right in front of the crime fighter's face, Bongino's face, KASH Patel's face. But somehow those criminals, none of them are going to get prosecuted. None of them are going to be arrested. All the names in the files that, were sexually abusing children, have any of those people been arrested? No. But KASH Patel here and Bongino want to act like they're doing such a great job of reining the criminals in. Meanwhile, the biggest case in the history of the FBI, in the history of politics, is literally like right in their face like a piece of cake. And they're just like, oh, nothing to see here. Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. I mean, all these people that were eating and sexually assaulting children, we don't see anybody. We got the blinders on, the big cake right in front of our face. We don't see it. Right. Yeah. And they know this too. What they're trying to do is salvage something. They're trying to like garner up some positivity because they're probably on orders from Trump right now to talk about this. Like, look what we did. We brought in these criminals. Meanwhile, the real criminals, the real maniacs, psychopaths, murderers, cannibals, they're just running around wild. And these two clowns are acting like they don't see them. But hey.
Is they wanted to have all the benefits of organizing: money, publicity, the ability to use social media to tell people to show up and throw rocks and bricks. They wanted to have all of that, but they didn't want to face the legal penalties. Being an attorney and now being on the FBI side, the investigative side, that the government forbids that type of criminal organization through RICO statutes, VICAR, and other things. So they want it one way. They want to organize and use it. But then when it comes to saying, well, they're organizing it for this purpose, they say, oh, no, that's not an organization. It's just an idea.
No, listen, they are retreating and backtracking through a wall that they used to be able to break through under prior administrations because no one held them accountable. And now, after the first year that we reestablish how this place, how this building, how this lead premier law enforcement agency actually operates and goes after not just threat actors overseas and those who are willing to do harm to American lives, but those who cause violence here in America and use the guise of politics to delete that violence. We're not going to tolerate that. And these groups like Antifa and anyone.
But you'll tolerate Epstein and all his pedophile buddies running our government, right? You'll tolerate all of these pedophiles that are running wild in the United States government, all of Trump's friends who are pedos. You'll tolerate all that. But you won't tolerate Antifa and you want a pat on the back. Wow. I mean, you instead of catching the shark, you caught the goldfish. Congratulations, KASH Patel.
else involved in these riots across the country and involved in paying for them in any way, shape, or form, this FBI, thanks to what we stood up over the last year, has made significant headway under the NSPM 7 process in looking at those who funded these streams and are starting to arrest people who used their funds to incite violence in the guise of political peaceful protest.
Look, if you're a side sleeper and you keep waking up with pain here along the mid-back, along the neck, the shoulders.
You know, Director, one of the things you did early on is to establish, you know, what they call in business school, like BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals, right? You put these 4 principles up on the home screen for everybody's computer every day. They had this, like, you know, National Dog Day stuff going up, which was nice and cute, but that's, you know, it's the FBI. Let's go get bad guys. One of them's crush violent crime.
Yeah, let's go get bad guys, Bongino, right? But you let Epstein and all his buddies just, you know, Epstein killed himself. I got to keep Israel safe. I miss my wife. I got to quit after 9 months.
Other on the national security front, protect the homeland. So on the crush violent crime front, when we got in there was a heavy focus on a lot of things. The FBI has a lot of responsibilities. But you had said early on, listen, if the Americans don't feel safe in their neighborhoods, I don't give a damn where you live, Chicago, Tuscaloosa, doesn't matter to us, then we're failing at our job. Like that is.
All right, I'm going to end it with that. You see my point. So Bongino and KASH Patel are glazing themselves today. Patrick Bet-David is pushing the same narrative on his show that President Trump and his administration, thanks to Bongino and Patel, that America is a safer place. So they want you to believe that they're fighting all this crime. This is the narrative that they're pushing today to distract you from the Epstein files, distract you with the war from Iran. But meanwhile, according to Bongino, Epstein killed himself. Turn the page. Nothing to see there. No, these 300 names in the Epstein files, none of them will be prosecuted. None of the Democrats that let a border invasion happen, Mayorkas, Biden, Kamala Harris, none of them will be prosecuted either. They went after the real criminals. Antifa. I mean, you could have took a 400-pound local donut-eating cop and he could have got to the bottom of that and arrested those dirtbags. It's just like, you know what, dude, whatever. And this is why the public in general, you're bragging about all the crime that you're stopping, and the public's like, okay, well, what about the Epstein case? Did you do anything about that? And they're just, this is what I mean by turning the page. They're just turning the page like, oh, nothing to see here. Typical Bongino, nothing but a blowhard. And then he mocks you like, well, you should have did something about it. Well, Dan, you're the one that took the job, Dan. Same thing with Honeypot Patel. He's getting honeypotted. So he's not going to investigate the Epstein files. I wonder why, Cash. Maybe you should investigate your girlfriend and find out who she actually is and what she's really up to. That would make more sense to me. Oh, you would just chalk it up to I have a bad attitude. You know? Oh, come on. Let's see what Lara Trump had to say. Let's see if the article pops up. Yahoo News. I can't read it from CNN. I'll lose my mind. I just can't. I just can't do that. Let's see. Tom Brady's billionaire bunker home is done. The aerial pic says it all. Yeah, because he knows what's about to happen. You know, that just sums it up perfectly. Tom Brady's billionaire bunker, 150 million. Yeah, because he knows we're about to, go to war, so the rest of us can just be dead while he's in his bunker. But hey, no big deal. Trump is, Trump is trying to save, conquer the world for Israel. So who cares if the rest of us get nuked in the process, right? No, it's just me. I'm being a black pillar right now. I'm just being so negative, ain't I? Shia LaBeouf the other day. Oh, I loved it. It cracked me up. I'm looking for this article, so just give me a second. Let me see if it pops up. Illegal immigrant with prior deportation shoots deputy in chest, dies after exchange. Another wonderful democratic success story, huh? They're all just here for a better life. When they sexually assault people and murder police, there's nothing to see. You're just being a racist. So can you just knock it off? Can you just stop being racist? You should be so happy that 55 million illegal people came into your country who are all getting a form of, some benefits from the government that you're all paying for. How dare you be outraged? You should be happy that you're doing that. Let me type it in real quick. Lara Trump. See what comes up. Pull it up a different way. Hold on, maybe I'll get out of Yahoo or whatever. A pain in the ass. Okay. Lara Trump on aliens. Here we go. Lara Trump has stated that her father-in-law, Donald Trump, has prepared a speech regarding extraterrestrial life, suggesting he has knowledge of or has engaged with the topic of UFO aliens. She indicated this during discussions about potential government information on non-human technology, according to The Hill and News Nation. Key points from her remarks. Prepared speech, she mentioned the existence of a speech about aliens, notes The Hill and News Nation. She noted that family members have asked Donald Trump about the subject of UFO and aliens. These comments come amidst ongoing discussions about government-held information on potential UAP. You know what this is done for? You know why this is done? You know why Trump is releasing this right now? Because he thinks you're all effing stupid. And if he talks about something like aliens, that'll make you forget about the Epstein files. That's why they're all doing this. Again, I got to reiterate this before I end the video. That's why KASH PATEL, that's why Bongino, the blowhard, were glazing themselves today, talking about crime is down because that's why Patrick Bet David, they all had the same talking points to try to get you to focus on something that would be considered positive. They want you to forget the Epstein files. They want you to forget that Trump is being controlled by Zionists. They want you to forget it all. They don't want to talk about the war in Iran at all. Why Trump is going to war in Iran for Israel, not for the benefit of America. They don't want you to talk about it. They want you to get off the topic. And that's all it is. Let me see something else. Here we go. Trump reportedly told U.S. could hit Iran as soon as Saturday I don't know what's going on with this. As he contemplates strikes. The United States is planning to withdraw all of its 1,000 troops from Syria over the next 2 months, according to U.S. media reports. Washington will end its presence in the country after the Syrian government extended its control over the country and the Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces, once key to fighting Islamic State, ICE pledged to integrate into the state, the Wall Street Journal reports. But here, I want to get back to the original point that President Trump is saying as soon as Saturday, America could be bombing. This is from the Times of Israel. I got to get off this because, obviously there's not going to be a word of truth that comes out of this paper's mouth, but they're telling me Trump is going to bomb Iran as early as Saturday. And why is he doing it? He's not doing it for America. He's not doing it for American citizens. He's not doing what we voted for him to do. He's doing it for Benjamin Netanyahu because that's what he wants. He's doing it for Israel and he's doing it for the Zionists. And I'm going to end it with that. Thanks for tuning in to Unbreakable with Chris Chamasiros.